Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds.
Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous two-year contracts, they said, "What the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass?" So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month.
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours, a music podcast where we chat to a new guest each week, talk about their life and creative endeavours, and talk to them about some of the music they love. Our show works by chatting to our guests about music, their songwriting techniques, and occasionally getting them to make you a playlist of the songs they love. Welcome to episode 165. I'm your host, Simon Fink. Our guest today is Ballpark Music. The prolific indie rockers from Brisbane, Australia, recently released their 7th studio record, entitled Weirder and Weirder. In today's episode, we're speaking with frontman Sam Cromack about their prolific output, songs finding a second life on different records, and producing music for Alex the Astronaut. Here we go. Our guest today is the frontman for one of the most well-loved indie bands from Australia in the last 10 years. After releasing their self-titled 6th studio record in 2020, last week saw their triumphant return with the release of their brand new studio record, Weirder and Weirder. Please welcome to This Song Is Yours from Ballpark Music, Sam Cromack. Hello, how are we?
Thanks for having me. I'm good.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you for your time today, Sam.
Yeah, no worries.
It is a very, very exciting time at the moment. I know that for many people, we've been missing out on a lot of music over the last few years or so with everything that's happened. But right now, there is a new Ballpark Music record out in the world as of last week. Congratulations! Weirder and Weirder is out now.
Thanks very much. Yeah, it's finally here. Yeah, it's a long journey making a record, and it's kind of, everybody's asking me about it at the moment, and I sometimes I don't know what to say, so much of the journey for me, and I suspect my bandmates feel the same, was all done, last year. Like, it's the creation period that's where I feel like I'm living inside that album the most, and it's consuming all my thoughts. So now it's just that weird time. I'm just looking forward to it not being, mine or ours anymore. And I don't know, getting some feedback on it, or just like learning to process the whole thing again, have some new understanding of it.
Of course, it's the 7th record in the. I was trying to work it out this morning. I think the first Ballpark record came out in 2011, so roughly 11 years. This is the 7th record. Do you? I guess, referring to what we were just discussing, do you enjoy the release process? Do you enjoy revisiting all the work you've done and having to, go through the emotion of it again?
Well, I don't not enjoy it. I just find this little period of time leading up to the actual, commercial release of the album to be one of the strangest. And it's, I don't know if other artists feel the same, but it's like you're just weirdly disconnected from the music for a bit. I think I keep making records with the band just because I love it so much. I just have this drive to make music, and even after every release, you sort of think to yourself, maybe let's take a break, like let's take a bit of time before the next one. But yeah, it's really just in my blood. Before long, I find myself in a room with Daniel, our drummer, usually, and I'm like, oi, I got a few songs, you want to play them kind of thing. Like, and before we know it, we're entertaining yet another album, and that's typically how it goes. But yeah, like I was explaining a moment ago, that whole time frame of creation, that wrapped up at the end of last year for me. You know, we had all our bits done in December. The record was getting mixed and mastered in January this year. That's how early we had to submit everything to try and get vinyl manufactured on time, which didn't work out anyway. So, yeah. But in saying that, yeah, suddenly it does sneak up on you. Suddenly people are messaging you like, oh, I've listened to the record, and you're like, oh, shit, it's really out there now. Anyone can hear it. And I think the real moment where I find myself back in amongst the music and the new album is when we go to tour. It's like a whole new learning experience, really playing the songs and performing them for an audience. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, of course. I can imagine with everything that's been going on in the last 2 years, Weirder and Weirder is quite an apt title just for the times that we currently live in. But this is the first album where you've got a title track on the record. There is a song called Weirder and Weirder as well. Did that, I guess, where did that song stem from? What was the inspiration for that song, and what made you go, yeah, this is the first time we'll name the album after one of the tracks?
In terms of that song, I think it's a pretty simple song in a way. I just had some chords, like a little ditty that I was just strumming on the acoustic. Just felt pretty, and that tempo and stuff was really relaxing. I just kept playing it at home, and then I started to sing some of the melodies with it, and it just seemed to be the kind of song where like no other section was like coming, and it's just the same chords for the whole song, and I just kept singing different tunes, almost like when you're in that early writing exploration stage, just seeing what's possible over, you know, the chords you're mucking around with. And I think I liked all the melodies that I was sort of making. I couldn't decide which one should be the song, so I think I ended up going to the studio to make a little demo, and I sort of put them all layered on top of each other, and it became a bit like singing in rounds kind of thing with all these like interlocking parts, and I didn't really think much of it. Sort of just did the demo, and but yeah, Dean in the band was like a really big believer in the song. I didn't know if the others were, you know, into it that much, but he kept saying like, I really rate that Weirder and Weirder song. And that was when we did quite late in the album, when you're in this real like, who cares, experimental, let's try anything sort of headspace, because that feels like the bulk of the album is done. And that was a song where it's like, let's just do whatever. And yeah, we had no structure for it or anything. We never saw like the instrumental outro that it has being part of it. It all just kind of fell into place, and we all there's a real grower of a song. We started to all like it more and more, and then when it came time to try and figure out an album title, I think we've always, like, when making every record, we've had a quick look at all the song titles and been like, anything here be good for a record, and nothing's felt right in the past. But yeah, this song with that title, you know, we were all in the room chatting about it, and it came up, and everyone's just kind of got that feeling. Everyone's looking at each other like, that feels pretty good. Like, and it definitely feels very right for the times, you know. It's good that song wasn't written like specifically in reference to COVID. I feel it's like more a general, just getting older, mental health kind of song. Just I knew I wanted to have a song that said that my mind was a casserole. But yeah, with everything going on, Weirder and Weirder just felt like a great title. It really does feel like shit's just getting weirder and weirder. Not better or worse, just weirder.
I would 100% agree with that. The line, the casserole line, is extremely. I feel like ballpark music-esque, if you will. Like I think you're very well known for having these. What's the best way to put it? Fun, kind of not like ha funny, but these kind of lines where you're able to like smart lines where you can chuckle to yourself. For you, knowing that you wanted to put that line in, do you have a little notes app or thing on your phone where you've just got like a list of one-liners that you can kind of put into songs at different points?
No, I'm actually pretty bad with keeping notes these days. When I was younger, I and before I had a smartphone too, I had notebooks, and I still have kept them all. And I used to fill notebooks. Like I've always loved writing, and I did a lot of English at school, and when I was getting into music, I totally overlooked, or maybe I was just young and I didn't understand how much writing really did mean to me. And I didn't think I had my own style or anything. I felt like I was just concerned with making music and just wanted to have a go. So it's only been like later, as more and more people have like referred to the lyrics and storytelling and stuff, that I've started to like embrace it more or give it more importance and really cherish that part of it. But these days, I tend to just float along and try and just remember anything that I feel like is actually going to be worthwhile in a song. I'm almost actively not like making voice recordings or writing things down anymore, because I think I listened to this Paul McCartney interview, and he was talking about some of the early Beatles writing where they obviously didn't have any means of making a recording of songs they were working on. The only way for the song to get legs was for it to be good enough that they remembered it. They wrote songs that they had to remember, and he said he really thinks it like focused their writing. You really know if an idea is worthwhile if you can remember it the next day unprompted. So I'm trying to do more of that. I feel like if I really can't let an idea go and I haven't jotted it down or recorded it anywhere, it'll probably get wedged in other people's minds as well. And the casserole is a good example of that. I just felt like it was the best description I could find for how it felt to get older. It just felt like a meal that's on the stove, and so like someone's trying. Like a meal is symbolic of love and nutrition. So you are trying, but it just feels like more and more ingredients are going in, which is not always better.
It's a very interesting analogy for the human mind as we get older. But yeah, I do think it's a very good one. It does the track in the album itself is gorgeous. I feel like it's still very much a ballpark record, but I feel like sonically there's these little further steps kind of pushing forward still, not resting on any form of laurels.
That's good to hear.
I know that what is it? Manny, which is the opening track, that has like a bit of a breakbeat part in the song. And I think my favourite track from the record is Caramel, which you've experimented in, and I think that there's some pitch shifting with the vocals and maybe the strings as well, possibly.
Yeah. Caramel was like my first little foray into like messing around with the vocals. I actually was writing Caramel around the same time I was writing Cherub on the last album. I think the guitar tunings or whatever are like really similar, and I thought that Caramel could be a bit like Cherub and be this soft acoustic sort of number. And I was sort of demoing the song by myself, thinking that's what the arrangement would sound like, but it just wasn't landing, and I was getting bored of it. And you'd be able to tell where I was thinking I would take it. The introduction of the song is still like that, but then I just got bored and started tapping along like some programmed drums to like at that fast tempo, and it really amused me, so I kind of ran with it. And then I also think I recorded it in a different key that was lower, and I wasn't enjoying the key, so I was shifting the pitch of the entire song up and down, just seeing if in any spots it like sounded better. And then when I got it to that spot, the key that it's remained in, I did like it there, but I pitched it up and my vocals sounded nothing like myself. They were like getting into that chipmunky kind of sound. So I lowered what's called the formant, which is not the pitch but the sound of the vocal delivery. For example, if I sing a note and Johnny Cash sings the same note, people might perceive that, you know, his note is lower, but it's not actually lower. It's just the tone of his voice, you know, is richer in those lower frequencies. So, sorry if this is too boring and technical, but
no, not at all.
Well, yeah. So once I had the pitch I liked, I lowered the formant. So I actually lowered the formant back down until it was like kind of sounding a bit like my voice, but it was just in this weird space. And I remember pressing playback on it to hear it for the first time, and I was just like, it sounds so like, it sounds like something I didn't make. It just is like jumping off the page kind of thing. So I really stuck with it, and that actually became a technique that I used for a lot of songs on the album, double tracking the vocals. So one would be just my regular voice, and then I'd double track it and I'd change the formant of the double track. So, and of course I'm just basically trying to emulate some of the techniques that they used to achieve with tape machines back in the day, messing with the speed of the playback and stuff like that, just to give this like, you know, unfamiliar quality to the tone of the voice.
It definitely works, and I feel that the experimentation has paid off. As I mentioned before, for me right now, at the time of recording, Caramel is my favourite. That might change over time, you know, the more you live with a record. I was wanting to chat as well, Sam. I know that one or two of the other tracks on the record might have had, like, this might have been a second life for them. They were written a little while ago and maybe weren't right for previous releases before. I think there was Pleb Rock and A Field to Break Your Back In. They were written many moons ago, one for a different project as well. When you're going back to revisit these kind of songs and see, you know, bits and pieces of what you've previously kind of come up with, how do you work out what's gold maybe amongst the pebbles, or what's usable and maybe what hasn't been used for a reason?
Yeah, well, I guess there's always an excess of songs, is the first thing. Most of the stuff that gets worked on in the band feels strong.
This season, Instacart has your back to school. As in, they've got your back to school lunch favorites like snack packs and fresh fruit. And they've got your back to school supplies like backpacks, binders, and pencils. And they've got your back when your kid casually tells you they have a huge school project due tomorrow. Let's face it, we were all that kid. So first, call your parents to say I'm sorry, and then download the Instacart app to get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes all school year long. Get a $0 delivery fee with your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 an order. Additional terms apply.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Like to me or to the bands, like early on, and that's the exact reason why we pursue it. And there's usually enough of that kind of material that's resonating with all of us. There's usually enough of that material to make a substantial, start on a record, and that's always been the case. I'd say the process of making an album always has a few moments where you have some kind of hurdle to get over. I don't know what happens, but there's always some reason for everyone to suddenly start doubting everything or asking questions or figuring out what the fuck you're doing. And we had that a couple of times on this record, which isn't to say we were struggling. We're just really more striving to always try and do something great. So we put an immense amount of pressure on ourselves, and it's only ever a moment away that our minds will flick the switch and we'll be like, is this good enough? Or are we trying hard enough? Are we getting what we want here? And I think around halfway through making the album, when we sort of had a bit of a forced break from recording because we had a bunch of shows we had to get done, so we had a bit of time to sort of pause and reflect and, regroup. And during that time, and this often happens, I'll start like poking around in my old hard drives and stuff, seeing what songs have I made and just totally forgotten about. Because again, sometimes with the perspective of years or getting older and hopefully wiser or just having some new outlook on life, sometimes you can look back on something that wasn't right at the time or whatever and suddenly be like, oh my God, this is perfect. Like I've been looking for something just like this, making this new record. Sometimes you might have to tweak lyrics or completely rewrite lyrics, to make it fit in your current day life or whatever. It's just something that's always an option, really. So, you're right. Pleb Rock I wrote, I think, in 2012, around the time we were making Museum. And I think I had a really different vision for that song at the time. I wrote it on piano and I wanted it to be this kind of sort of ballady thing, and it just didn't really work the couple of times we tried it in the band, so it kind of just stayed there. Looking back through my old hard drives, I found a demo of it that I didn't even remember I had done that was more like the one that you hear on this new record, that was like up-tempo and like more driven by the guitars, and I suddenly was like, oh, we could do it like this. I feel like all the emotion that I wanted from like a kind of stripped back piano ballady version is still there, like when it's played kind of with energy and with a focus on the guitars. So we tackled that one, and then A Field to Break Your Back In. That song was originally just called Lions, and we didn't want to name it that because we already have a song called Cocaine Lions. So we gave it a new title, and I redid that second verse because the old verse was a bit shit. But it was part of it was a song I did for my solo project, which I haven't done anything on for years, called My Own Pet Radio. And that was on the first album I ever made, which has never been released. It's more just something my friends have, and my bandmates know that album. I made it when I was at uni, and that's just a song that we've all known for years, and we've all joked many times, like, God damn it, that should be a ballpark song. Like, that riff is just so fun, and it's kind of got like the mosh, like new metal tempo, like, and we don't really have anything like that. So again, just in boredom, one day, kind of just played it, like, hey, should we finally do this song? Like, no one really knows it. We may as well. And yeah,
it worked out quite well then.
Yeah.
I know that throughout the last year or so, it hasn't just been Ballpark that's been keeping you busy as well. I believe you had a hand in co-producing the forthcoming Alex the Astronaut record as well.
Yeah, that's right. So I've been fortunate enough to work on both her records now. The first one, I'm trying to think what year I think we recorded most of that in 2017 or 18. I can't remember. And then, we have the same management. So my manager gave me a call a while ago now to be like, why fix it if it ain't broke? We're kind of keen to have you, do the second Alex record. So, I was delighted to get the call back. Daniel, he and I sort of co-produced the first record, and we did that again. But Alex also wanted Daniel's brother Dean to participate as well, because he'd been teaching Alex guitar. She'd been getting guitar lessons off him, and they've been hanging out a lot. So I think she wanted to have him involved. So it was very familiar territory for me to have Daniel and Dean in the studio, like two people I'm most used to working with. So they were really speedy sessions. We recorded 9 songs for the album, and I think we had 10 sessions. So we did a song a day, and we had 1 day of overdubs, and it was done. And Alex roped in some other collaborators, like some strings and horns players from overseas that she'd met in her travels, and it got mixed really quickly by an Australian mixer called Miro Mackey. I think he's based in America now too. And when I listened to it, it all just happened so quickly. But I thought the album sounded just awesome, especially with the addition of all the strings and stuff. Like, it sounded expensive, I just couldn't believe that we'd been part of creating it. It just sounded like something much more grand than something that would have come out of our studio in such a short period of time. So that was fun, and I've just really been enjoying doing a lot of production for other people too. Had a few projects on the go. That's been really rewarding. I love it.
Yeah, of course. Other than the most glaringly obvious things that, like, it's obviously it's not Ballpark, it's Alex, or like whoever the artist may be. Is there any differing approach that you might take when going into producing? Like, do you kind of feel that you have to take like a little, like a step back a little bit more, or do you, I guess, like, how does your approach change with each artist?
So it does differ artist to artist. Obviously, each artist is unique and has their own needs and their own vision for what they want. I'm trying to get smarter about making that initial call about whether my general production kind of style or approach is suitable for the artists that get in touch. I find if me and the artist can make the right decision there, then we can get off on the right foot and have a great time. I'm trying to be smarter because some people do get in touch, and I might hear their music or the kind of music they want to make, but then in speaking to them, you might realize I don't know if I'm the right producer for you. So that's probably the biggest decision to make. I think my production style is probably kind of old-fashioned and not as common anymore. I love recording bands and ensembles. I like recording groups of musicians all playing together, kind of, even though I record digitally, I sort of like pretending like we're recording to tape. And I think my experiences of recording to tape just made me value the process of that process more, and how that old technology influenced the approach to music creation. I find it's like more social and more rewarding, and I think creates more interesting, more unique music. So provided I get artists that kind of are down to record like that, and and know what they want to do and have everything well organized, it's great. And I try and really, once we're in the studio, just put the artists on a pedestal. It's really all about them, just listening to what they've got in mind and what they want to achieve, and just trying to get as close as you can to their vision. Of course, I'm creative too, so I'll hear things or have ideas, and always, sort of just like, take it with a grain of salt. Like, I won't be offended at all if this idea sucks, but try and have a comfortable environment where we can all be sharing ideas. But I love just honouring the artist, and hopefully at the end of the day seeing them, ideally skip out of the studio, like they're so overjoyed with having that that kind of dream come true feeling where like you started the day with a song in your imagination, and you leave with like, a file in your inbox that you can binge listen to once you get home. You just really want to make them hear what they had in their minds.
100%. I think there's even if it's not directly to tape, being able to play like as a collective or a group. And we were talking to someone recently that it's nice to almost have those, like the little imperfections is sometimes what makes those recordings a bit more like homely or lived in, or like it just like it makes it just connect that little bit nicer.
Absolutely. I really enjoy doing some planning on the song before we start recording, so that we don't get thrust into this world of like infinite possibility, because I don't actually think that kind of infinite possibilities that have come with modern recording technology necessarily what am I trying to say? I don't always think it has great outcomes. I think beginning the day talking about the song primarily with the writer, but with the band too, getting the arrangement like a bit developed before we start recording, and then provided the band's good enough to all play together, setting everything up, usually with a vocal too, even if that will get replaced later, usually just due to technical reasons like bleed from the drums or whatever. Excuse me. I absolutely love getting all the musicians set up, and these days I've really been treating the computer like a tape machine. Like I literally press record once everything's kind of ready to roll, and I'll just let it roll for like an hour or an hour and a half, and we'll record everything, so you get all the conversations in between, all the little moments of the musicians like figuring it out or adjusting their parts, and I love it, and it's so great too. Lots of musicians have kind of looked at me like, so are we just playing the song over and over now? And I'm like, yeah, just keep playing it. And I think they feel so like liberated or like in touch with their musicianship when that becomes the task, not sitting around the computer going, could we do this or could we do this, but actually standing with their instrument, having their guitar slung over their shoulder for an hour and a half with other musicians just playing. It's like I said, it's more social. Like I really want to enjoy the social aspects of music. I feel like that's so important. Like if that's not there, like I kind of don't give a fuck anymore. Like I'm not really interested in sitting one-on-one trying to, click my way to a hit. I just can't be bothered anymore.
Firstly, I think that is very fair, but secondly, I think that's why Ballpark Music has continued to put out like consistently great records that do consistently connect with audiences and that people love as well. Because I think that does come across in the music, that you guys aren't like you're not just sitting in the studio working out like, does this sound like like it's not a meticulously kind of like soulless kind of project for where you're just an outcome of getting the music. It seems like the journey is the fun for you guys, and then that we just kind of seem to reap the reward of that, if you will.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think, obviously we've been doing it for a long time now, so it's such an honour and a privilege to get to do something like this for as long as we have, because you get to just learn so much stuff as you go along, and lessons that you never could have foreseen for yourself, and and it's been so great. And that's probably been one of the biggest ones is just, it sounds so cheesy, but just like the value of fucking teamwork or whatever you want to call it, just doing things as a group, and letting go of this idea that a lot of artists have always had and definitely still have, is this singular vision like that comes from just one person, and you think you're right and you know everything. And I've definitely been guilty of that in the past, and it's been like really great to let go of that and to like kind of switch over to genuinely believing that you can actually create your best work in collaboration with other people. And I've like revisited a lot of my favorite music that I've enjoyed in my life, and I've always loved the songs, but now when I listen to the Beatles or Radiohead or Red Hot Chili Peppers or anybody, I can hear their camaraderie and that moment where they actually perform those songs, like, or the bulk of the music, the bed, together as an ensemble. And it's like, I really think listeners detect that friendship and that execution of something as a group. And like I said, like we've always had solo artists, but more and more music is created sort of in a vacuum and not in a collaborative sense, at least not in terms of playing. And my instinct is that I find too much of that music soulless. Like I really get off on hearing musicians play together, and it could be in any style, but I just want to hear like this organic quality.
100% agreed. I know I might sound like a bit of a broken record now, but I think that is where a lot of the success of ballpark music does come from, because it does sound like you guys are, like as you said, it's a moment where it kind of clicks and you can hear that a band is working in sync with one another, and it's not like 17 different paths that have a different end goal. It's the one path all kind of working together. Sam, thank you very much for your time today. I do appreciate it. Congratulations again on Weirder and Weirder, which is out now. But thank you very much for being on the podcast.
My pleasure. It's been nice to chat music anytime.
And that's our show. A massive thank you to Sam Cromack and Ballpark Music for their time. Weirder and Weirder is out now, and we've left links in the show notes if you'd like to buy the record or see them on tour. We also want to give a huge shout out to Anouk at Six Boroughs Media for helping out with today's interview. If you like this show, please subscribe wherever you get your pods and stay up to date when new episodes are released. We release new shows each Wednesday and Friday morning, and we now have a Patreon, which you can find within the show notes of this episode. You can follow the playlist profile on Spotify, and you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Until next week, cheers.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
I'm Kristen.
And I'm Jen from the I Mom So Hard podcast.
Now listen, we don't want to brag, but yes, we are moms. We're average moms.
Below average sometimes.
But we're not just moms.
Yeah, we don't want you to think that we're just moms. And we're not just supermodels either. We're not just pieces of meat.
That's right. We're not even close.
Yeah.
But we are comedians, and we're also best friends.
We're also best-selling authors.
And television writers.
We created a viral web series.
With over 300 million views.
Okay,
What's up?
bragging.
Who's bragging? And we were in our swimsuits. Again, not supermodels.
We're also podcasters.
Are we podcasting right now?
Not right now, but we have been podcasting for 3 years. We're bringing laughs every Tuesday to women and moms everywhere.
And one dude who's a sophomore in college, his name's Greg, whatever, he messaged us and made me feel cool.
So nice. Amazing. Please listen to the I Mom So Hard podcast on Acast.
Woo!
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.